Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become your all intuitive conversation. Aloha, and welcome to another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. I encourage individuals to live smart and ascend to new levels of work life success. And today I have the pleasure of connecting with Roger. So let's bring him to the screen. Aloha, Roger.
Aloha, Felicia.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. It's a beautiful day.
Yes. So you and I have never met before. So this is my first time having a conversation with you and getting to know you. I will say the first thing that stands out about you already, Roger, is your deep voice.
Well, thank you.
I'm like, yes, I'm liking the sound of his voice. So do you get people that, reference that, talk about that often?
Very much so. In fact, I remember when I was going through puberty, I was in my young teens, and at the time, people were suggesting I should be on radio, television, and fortunately, I've had the opportunity to do both. So I've been very blessed.
Awesome. Radio and television. Yes, because it's definitely an announcer type voice. So tell me a little bit more about your radio and TV experiences.
Well, initially it started just representing the company that I worked for. We did some promotional videos. I did some voiceovers for a few other companies, and just got to enjoy, I guess, being a voice for things. And at that same time, was given opportunities to be promoted or elevated within the positions I had, to where I became kind of the face, if you will, of the business.
Mhm.
And in that process, I got a good deal of confidence, to the point where a lot of people were suggesting I do a podcast. And I figured at some point, you know what, maybe I ought to do one. And now I have a podcast, building the premier accounting firm that I do for individuals that own, operate successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses.
Well, of course you do. Because, like I said, it definitely is that type of voice. And I really believe that when we're younger, there's like these peekaboo type of situations that of what our future is going to be about. So, with that, your voice and your company, what is the meaning of that for you? Like, what's behind the fact that you decided to do accounting?
Well, I'm going to answer your question in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I'm not an accountant by trade. And so my schooling was actually in communication. And through that, I was given opportunities to basically work in the film industry and then eventually in the accounting industry. And that's what elevated me to the position I have today of being president of Universal Accounting Center. So I'm the third president of the school. And so it's kind of interesting to run a business of accounting when in fact my education wasn't that. Now, believe me, I've been around it enough that I'm very comfortable with the accounting and tax. But the point is that's my voice, if I could say it this way. I'm the representative of the company. I'm the ambassador. I'm representing who we are to the world, and so I have to be the voice of the business. But at the same time, my second answer is going to be that I'm trying to actually bring to the accounting profession a voice, trying to encourage them to be more vocal and outgoing with the clients they work with, to really help these businesses that are really the backbone of our economy be more successful. So if I can help elevate the accounting profession to where they see themselves as having a voice at the table in the business setting, then I think we've done a great job in helping empower them to be more involved in business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that because one of the cards that came up here is this woman, and of course, this individuals with money, it's coins, going and just accolades here. And it says on the card, the good you do comes back to you. So, the next question is coming through with that when you're thinking of having worked in this whole accounting field, and sometimes I think there can be this perception of just um, people just greed for the money and the numbers and not just kind of understanding that. Tell me about a story where there was something good that happened in your field of accounting.
Oh, it's a great question because money may be the root of all evil, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely a means to an end. And what I mean by that is if someone just merely aspires to have money, it can be all consuming and you can actually lose family, friends, relationships because you sacrifice too much in the pursuit of money. But in reality, the means to actually do good comes oftentimes from money. You can't give what you don't have. And so, if you wish to be an enabler, someone that goes into the world to make the world a better place, to benefit and help other people, you have to
Mm-hmm.
have the means to do so. And so,
Yep.
I think a lot of good comes from individuals that have been very blessed with financial means. They're able to actually go help those that are less fortunate. And in doing so, really move the needle towards something better. And so, I don't view money as either it's neither a negative or a positive. It's neither good or bad. It is just something. And if it's used, it basically enhances what innately is in someone already. So if someone is innately a bad person, they will take money and leverage it towards doing bad. If they're a good person, they will leverage it towards doing good. It just
Yes.
enhances what someone already is.
Love that because the next card that's here is this couple and they're sharing cups. It's like what you give, you also receive in exchange. But then the next card that comes up, it transitions to pretty much the same couple, but all the way to the 10. And at this point, it's been magnified from just two people to now there's this whole, family. And like I said, a lot of times that's very much connected with family and like I said the money and the happiness that you kind of have, but it goes back here starting with what you give you can kind of receive in exchange for that. So the next question is coming through, speaking of the family, tell me about Roger when he was 10.
When I was 10, let's see here. When I was 10, I was blessed with a very good family.
Mm-hmm.
I have good memories of my childhood with my mother and father. Had good friends. It was around the age of 10 that I think we didn't have a television. And it was in that period of time that I was definitely outdoors quite a bit. I did enjoy school and had quite a few neighborhood friends that we go run around with. I was raised where my mom was very trusting. I'm the neighborhood boy that grew up with the come back when the street lights turn on kind of philosophy, right?
And
So
no cell phones back then. There was no tracking devices for
no,
your
no.
kids.
So and I didn't necessarily have to tell my mother where I was going. It was just I was leaving and I knew to come back for, let's say, lunch or dinner. And so she knew I was maybe heading in a certain direction, but it wasn't that I was going to a friend's house and I was only able to stay at the friend's house to play. We would leave there and there was a gully nearby where we'd go play in the gully. We'd go play in the streets within the subdivision. We just had free
Yes.
reign. And so I remember a very liberated, very fun childhood in that regard. And so very happy if I could say that.
Yes, which goes back to the whole, like I said, Ten of Cups. This is the card of like happiness and childhood and rearing and loving relationships. So the next card that came out here has this concept of ignite, the theme, but the trigger statement says, "Where do I go from here?" And I was really smiling because as you were talking about, your mom didn't know exactly where you were, just kind of going, and the true statement says, I allow life to flow through me." And so it sounds like at a very early age, you had this freedom to kind of roam and do the things that you enjoy doing. And it says, inspiration has arrived and will work through you as you move forward. And so, having had that childhood where you're kind of free and open to do those things in your life, have you ever felt limited at any point in your career?
Oh, very much so. When I was much younger, say my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
I happened at that time in my life to be very pessimistic. I was very much the one that looked at the bad or the negative side of things. And I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in any way the optimist who saw potential and opportunity or abundance. Well, in my late 20s, I went through a change and that positively impacted my relationships, especially with my spouse at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I went from a scarcity mindset where I felt the world was not necessarily out to get me. I didn't feel a victim, but I
Mm,
definitely felt like there was nothing really positive for me to experience. I was just going to exist in life. Well,
mm.
that transition in my late 20s to where I became much more mindful of my surroundings and much more grateful. Gratitude started to play a very big part in my life. And so once you start to have this gratitude, you all of a sudden start to see the abundance that exists around you. And I mean that in every regard. And so I became a much different person after my early 20s, let's say. I hope that answers your question.
It does, because the thing that came up as the energy was pelican. And remember, I said, like, you have very much a free flow mindset. And with the bird, it sees everything kind of high level with that. And on the card, it says, let go of your judgments and forgiveness. And so, like you said, you had this whole different viewpoint of, okay, I no longer want to be a pessimist, changing that. And so here's the energy that comes from the pelican. Forgiveness, let go of your thoughts. Each time you judge yourself or others, you immediately create the illusion of separation. Separation from your environment, from your human beings, and most critically, separation from the creator and all of creation. Immersing yourself in this illusion creates pain that manifests as hurt, anger, or even attack in words or deeds. And if you stop and reflect, you will find that when you judge others, it is really a projection of a shadow aspect of yourself. Therefore, the source of these judgments is not just contained in the other, it's something in yourself that you may not be aware of. But it's like, I love that you took the time to say, no, I'm not enjoying where this is going. Let's do something um, different with that. So, with that, tell me, where do you live now?
I live in Utah.
Are you from Utah?
I am from Utah.
What is it like living in Utah?
I love Utah. We have four seasons here: very distinct summer, very distinct
Uh-huh.
winter, and a clear spring and fall. So just love it here. The mountains are gorgeous. And so it's something that I can just look out my window and just take in. I mean, it's just amazing the majesty of the world and the creation around me. And there's a national forest that's merely 15 minutes away from my home that I can immediately go up the canyon, be
Yes.
up where the tranquil streams are, and be secluded where the lake is. And what more can I ask for that in literally less than 30 minutes, I could be by the side of a lake, just enjoying nature and God's creation. And so I very much appreciate where I'm at.
So you're very because now I'm looking back, it's like all your cards are outside. Like all the people are like outside. In activities, the wilderness, outside, and of course outside. Also, there's this concept of blue, which is skyline. So when you think about the future, what do you see?
I'm very optimistic about the future,
Yes.
honestly. Um, I'm at a point now, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where
Yes.
I feel that I've really kind of reached that pinnacle of self actualization. And I'm at a point where I'm now giving back. I'm trying to bless those around me. I would like to believe that every interaction I have with people is one that's positive and uplifting. And I'd like to believe that they feel better about themselves having met with me. And that's one of the things that's very important to me, because I believe there's a lot of negativity, unfortunately, in the world that draws people down. And I'd rather be someone who uplifts and inspires. So, that being the case, my outlook on life is just wonderful. I get to meet wonderful people such as yourself. I get to interact with individuals that are trying and doing, and I'm hoping that through my interaction, I can inspire and help them to do better. Now, I say that realizing that as you get to know me, many people will use the word intense to describe me. I am
Hmm.
intense. I'm very focused. I happen to be very driven, but I'd like to think that I temper that with kindness and with levity. I hope that people just have a smile once having met me. And if that's the case, then I'm making the world a better place in my own little way.
Well, indeed. And so, as you were talking, I was asking Emmanuel for the energetic, like, okay, what is this? As you were talking about, when you said the word intense, and you got the solar plexus, third chakra. And here's what it says, Roger. I honor myself by doing things that please me, not only those that please others. I am empowered as I release the need to live up to other people's unrealistic expectations of me. When I respect and improve of myself, others will naturally do the same. I teach others how to treat and respect me by how I treat and respect myself. I know I am worthy of love and respect. The boundaries I create with others acknowledge my self worth.
That's a wonderful affirmation if someone would use that all the time. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that actually kind of represents me. I can identify with that. I'd like to think I'm good, and darn it, I like myself.
Indeed, and it's such a reminder because like I can relate because that's what one of the words that I use is awe. Is that sometimes people when they interact, it's like I'm drawn to you and I respect you. And at the same time, it's kind of like there's this little, I'm not quite sure, maybe edge. Cause like I said, I can relate. Like sometimes you can be, I guess, intense or something like that.
Mhm.
But it's like in order to just connect with people, I could think like for me quickly and just in a deep way, all like I said, with the hopes of encouraging individuals to ultimately live smart and ascend to new levels of work life success. And so looking at here, it seems like you said you're doing that well, and you're continuing to fly. Um, just continue just to release any judgments, like I said, because that's the thing. Like people may see you differently, but knowing that you're a good human and you have good intent, that's enough.
Well, let me add two things.
Mhm.
As I hear you share that, one of the things that I'd like to maybe impart to everyone listening is I hope that you can have a sense of peace in your
Mm,
life about yourself, your situation, and you
indeed.
can give grace and gratitude to whomever it is that's empowered you to be in the place that you are. And you can recognize those people and perhaps a deity of sorts that you can give gratitude towards having you be in the place you are. And what I'm talking about is being present. And
Mhm.
so many people, I think, dwell in the past or they live in the future. And what I'd rather do is be present and embrace the things that we're all being blessed with today: the weather, our health, the employment we have. There's just so much to be grateful for. There are many that have less, and I'd like to recognize where I am blessed and see what I can do to help those who are less fortunate. So, that idea of being present, having gratitude, and most importantly, being at peace, I think those are three elements that I'd like to share today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's definitely words of encouragement for individuals to live smart. So, if people want to connect with you and learn more about your business and this philosophy that you're living out, how can they reach you?
Of course, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'd love to message and communicate there, but you can also visit us at universalaccounting.com. Universal Accounting, I have quite a bit of free resources to help business owners leverage, manage, and grow their businesses. And so those free resources are available there to take advantage of. There's some free books, there are some webinars, and then lastly, my podcast. Love to have people join in. It's specifically for people that own and operate bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. But there are
Yeah.
many words of wisdom in the show, and I do have people that aren't necessarily owners that really appreciate the insights. And you're welcome to join in and listen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Roger, for coming and having an all intuitive conversation with me. I do hope you were encouraged to continue to live smart and ascend to new levels of work life success. For those of you that are watching, you say, hey, I would love to be a guest on All Intuitive Conversation. Reach out to me via LinkedIn, via a message. And if you want to know about the show, you can also visit allintuitiveconversation.com. And until we meet again, this has been an all intuitive conversation.
Felicia, it's been wonderful. Aloha and mahalo.
Uh-huh.